Good afternoon. My name is Dana Estrada. I'm the Director of Border Community Service of Niagara University, and I teach emergency preparedness in the city of Buffalo. Today we're going to talk about winter preparedness. So the name of the presentation is Preparing Makes Sense, Personal Preparedness for Winter. So why should you prepare? Emergencies and disasters often happen quickly with little or no warning. Local officials and rescue workers will respond, but they may not reach everyone right away. They will usually go to the hardest hit areas and the people with the greatest need, which means most of us will have to be on our own for at least a brief time before help arrives. The more you have prepared before the emergency, the calmer and more capable you and your family will be during the emergency. So winter weather. Winter storms can last several hours or several days. They can bring extreme cold, freezing rain, snow, ice, and high winds. They create risks, including a higher risk of car accidents, hypothermia, frostbite, carbon monoxide poisoning, and even heart attacks from overexertion. They can cut off heat, power, and communication services. Although they put all of us at risk, they put older adults, children, and sick individuals at a much greater risk. This picture shows a lake effect front coming in over our city. You can see the Skyway and the old Adams Mark Hotel on the right-hand side, but this is what it looks like. And lake effect is caused when colder air, usually from Canada, circles over the lake when it's unfrozen and generates cloud that keeps building until we have a snow. So there are types of weather advisories, and some of us get these a little bit confused. So winter storm warning is the most serious of all the advisories that we may be issued. It's issued when hazardous winter weather in the form of heavy snow, heavy freezing rain, or heavy sleet is imminent or occurring. A winter weather advisory is the second most severe. It's issued for accumulations of snow, freezing rain, freezing drizzle, and sleet, which will cause significant inconvenience, and if caution is not exercised, could lead to life-threatening situations. And then a winter storm watch is the less severe. It just alerts to the possibility of a blizzard, heavy snow, heavy freezing rain, or heavy sleet. And often we see that winter storm watches will turn into advisories and then eventual warnings. So additional warnings or additional weather terms. Blizzard is issued for frequent gusts greater than 35 miles per hour, accompanied by falling and or blowing snow. Frequent reduced visibility to less than a quarter of a mile for 3 or more hours. A lot of us like to throw around the term blizzard, but there are some thresholds for an actual blizzard. Snow squalls are often associated with strong cold fronts, move in and out quickly, and typically last less than an hour. Can be extremely intense, and they combine whiteout conditions with falling temperatures that can produce icy roads in mere minutes. Some of us are caught by surprise when snow squalls, when we happen into snow squalls, and that makes them pretty dangerous. And then lake effect snow, issued when widespread or localized lake-induced snow squalls or heavy showers are expected to produce significant snowfall accumulation, often develops in narrow bands and impacts limited area, which is the picture that we just showed. When the lake freezes, we no longer have lake effect snow. And in addition, we can also get lake effect rain. It's the same sort of thing over our area. And usually lake effect snow happens near our Great Lakes. So we are well known for our lake effect snow. Ice storm issued for ice accumulation of around a quarter inch or more. Power lines and tree branch hazard, which means that power lines can come down from the heavy weight of the ice, or tree branches can come down from the increased weight from ice. Wind chill, issued for a combination of very cold air and strong winds that create dangerously low wind chill values. Increased risk for frostbite and hypothermia, which are both considerably dangerous, and we will talk about those a little bit more in depth in a few minutes. Black ice. It's a driving hazard defined as patchy ice on roadways that cannot easily be seen. It is often clear, not white, as normal ice, we see a whitish tint to it. This is often clear with the black road surface visible underneath. It's also a walking hazard. Sometimes on our sidewalks, we may have what essentially is black ice, not very visible. A warning, watch, or advisory, please pay attention to any guidance that's issued by the city, the county, or the state. Travel advisory, motorists are advised to avoid travel unless absolutely necessary. So we should all be staying off the roads, but maybe you have to get to work and you can go, but an advisory is, no unnecessary travel. A travel ban means everyone stays home. Only emergency or essential personnel are allowed to travel. It's really important that we listen to all those warnings. So travel ban or travel advisory isn't the time to, go out shopping. Really pay attention to those, because then they put us at risk, and they put first responders at risk as well. There are 4 keys to personal preparedness as outlined by the federal government. Get a kit, make a plan, be informed, and get involved. And we will talk about all of those areas as they relate to winter preparedness. So get a kit. Pre-assemble items your family may need for emergencies or disasters. Use a plastic tote, cardboard box, bag, anything that you can put all your items in should you need during a weather event, emergency, or disaster. So although we're talking about a kit for winter weather, we could get a kit for almost any sort of emergency or disaster that comes up, and they would be the same kit. So we're going to include extra special supplies that we may need during a winter event. At the minimum, prepare for 1 week. That means you not being able to leave your house for 1 week to get any of these emergency supplies that you may need, and no one being able to come and drop these supplies off to you. And at the bare minimum, 1 week. Don't forget about preparedness at work, at school, or any place you spend time. So we want to make sure that we're always prepared. You never know when you're going to get stuck at work or at one of your activities, a faith-based organization, something like that. So we want to make sure that we have supplies any place that we spend time. And not just adults, but children too. There are some supplies that you can throw into a backpack when kids take the bus to school, and really think about what you would need if the bus broke down. So maybe some extra food and maybe a little blanket, something like that to keep warm. While there are things that will make you more comfortable in an emergency, you think first about water, non-perishable food, and clean air, the life sustainers. So for water, we want 1 gallon per person per day. We're asking for people to prepare for a week. Seems like a lot of water. And you can buy bottled water, and that's fine, but otherwise you can fill clean containers from your faucet and store that away. And that will be used for personal sanitation, drinking, and food preparation. Non-perishable food. Each family should have enough supplies in their home for at least a week. That's tough with grocery prices now, but if you go to the store, just grab 1 or 2 extra items every time you go, or look at your normal pantry and set aside some things that you would save for an emergency. We're not going to keep those emergency non-perishable food items in your normal pantry, because if you leave them there, someone may eat them without realizing they're your emergency supply. So we're going to put them somewhere else other than your normal pantry. So we always ensure that we have extra food in our house should something happen. Also, if you are without power, know that your refrigerator, a stocked freezer will hold the temperature for a considerable amount of time, as long as the door is not opened and closed. And that's a stocked freezer. If your freezer's half, you think about 24 hours those food items will stay cold. And then your refrigerator only good for about 4 hours, and that's as long as nobody's opening the door consistently. Clean air we're going to talk about in a few minutes. Other supplies for an emergency kit. And I'm going to mention these, but think about your own family and what needs you may have that are specific. And then you're going to think about how you would handle those if if we had a big winter event, what else would you need? So some families will need other supplies or extra supplies. You're going to think about what you would need for your family. So a flashlight and lanterns with extra batteries. Camping lanterns are great. The extra batteries are the key. You also want a radio with extra batteries. Now, a lot of us have, get our news media from our phones or a TV, but if TV is not broadcasting or your phone runs out of charge, it really is helpful to have a radio with extra batteries. And that will make sure that you can get any information that you need. Now, NOAA has, NOAA has radios that really focus on weather. So if you have one of those radios, and the cheapest one is about $20, it would tune into your local National Weather Service to issue any warnings that you may need in a catastrophic emergency or event or weather event. And those are great to have, and you could travel with them. So although ours would hook up to the National Weather Service in Buffalo, which is located right outside of the airport in Cheektowaga, you could, travel with it and it would hook up to that local National Weather Service. Matches, in case you need to light a pilot light, or, people think candles, and candles, lots of us have those in our house, but really we try to rely less on candles and matches because we don't want to increase fire risk. Blankets. So you can have warm, cozy blankets, and that's great, but there's also disaster survival wraps. They look like giant pieces of aluminum foil, and those will trap in your body heat and keep you warm. They're relatively inexpensive. You can buy them at any camping supply area and possibly Dollar Tree or something like that. Enough for each family member. A first aid kit. And COVID taught us that we should also have some medicine in our homes also. So think about what you would need in a first aid kit, including medicine, and make sure that you have a fully stocked kit. A non-electric can opener. Pop tops are great for non-perishable goods and cans, but pop tops sometimes break. So we want to make sure that we have a can opener. Filter masks, something to cover your nose and mouth. And of course, we all think of COVID or flu season of why we would wear masks, but even for something that is burning in the neighborhood and you want to make sure that your nose and your mouth are covered to avoid that extra smoke. Important family documents. We all have important family documents, and we want to make sure that we have those in a place that we are easily accessible. Now, they should be in a fire safe and they should be all together. But fire safes are sometimes expensive and they're hard to carry if you're trying to leave quickly. So my family makes copies of those important family documents and puts them in our emergency kit. So if we have to grab our kit, we know that we have some of our important family documents available to us. What does that look like? Social security cards, your insurance information, your birth certificates, passports, any information that you may deem critical or may need, your license, things like that, copies of that, your non-driver ID. Make sure you have photocopies and put them at the bottom of your emergency kit. Sometimes it also helps to have an old utility bill, not too old, but a couple months out, or a rental agreement from if you lease your home or apartment to show that where you live. If they're only helping areas, people that live on certain streets, you want to make sure that you have that documentation to prove that you are a resident there. Money, some is better than none. So even if you can just put away $10 or $20, whatever you're comfortable with or can do, that would be great. Because if you have to leave quickly, you want to make sure that you have something. During brownouts in 2001, ATMs were shut down, or banks are shut down sometimes, and or even stores. So if they don't have typical power, normal power, and they're under emergency power, they may not take our debit cards or our credit cards. So we want to make sure that we have some cash with us so we can make transactions if necessary. A list of important phone numbers. All of us have our cell phones, or lots of us have cell phones, and we rely on that to store our phone numbers. But the truth is, a lot of us can't remember those really important phone numbers. We usually hit 07 send and somebody's down the other line. But it is really important that we write down all of those important phone numbers that you may need in an emergency, whether it be family members, children's schools, doctors' numbers, insurance information, any important phone numbers that you may need in an emergency. We're going to make sure that we write all of those down and put them in your emergency kit. It also helps to write some of those important phone numbers down and put them in children's backpacks, so they always have them too. Additional supplies, glasses or contacts. I always suggest that people hang on to that old pair, even if they have a scratch in them, because if something happens to your good glasses, the ones that you typically wear, at least you have some sort of backup. Medicine, everyone should have, prescription medicine in their homes if you take prescription medicine, and make sure you have at least enough to last you. So if your health insurance company or the doctor says, you can go a week ahead of time and refill this medication, find out what that level is, and so you always have backup, and don't wait till the last day to refill prescriptions. Formula and diapers for any family members that may need those. Change of clothes, seasonally dependent. Toiletries, disposable plates, cups, utensils. If you live in a single family or duplex, you may have access to your home utilities, and everyone should know how to turn those off. If we're in the middle of a catastrophic emergency and travel is at a standstill and crews can't access certain areas, we want to make sure that if we smell a gas leak, we can turn that your gas off, or your water if there's a problem. Never ever turn those back on. We're going to find somebody licensed to do that to help you out. Books, games, or pet supplies. Pets need almost the same things as people need, and so we want to make sure that they are prepared as well. Supplies for a vehicle kit. So if you own a vehicle or if you travel with somebody who has a vehicle pretty consistently, we want to make sure that they also have a kit in their vehicle, in their car. So if you ever are stuck, especially in our winters, you have supplies. So water, again, enough in your car if you need to stay. Sometimes people have stayed on our highways for 24 hours. So we want to make sure that we have enough water for the people that are traveling in the car. Sometimes a small collapsible cooler can help it from freezing, but with our temperature, sometimes it would freeze. Sure, you can chip off ice, but the truth is, if you chip off ice, you are lowering your body temperature. And if you're there in a vehicle for a sustained time, we don't want to lower your body temperature. So if there's any way to warm that water up a little bit, just melt it a little bit, that would be preferable. Non-perishable food, again, in your vehicle, granola bars, trail mix, anything that can sort of sit in your car for a little bit. Blankets, lots of them, and those survival wraps are a really great thing to have. They fold up very, very small. They're reusable. Again, a camping supply area would have those in some of our stores. Extra clothing, and certainly mittens, gloves, anything like that, winter boots, in case you have to stay in your car longer. A shovel. Now, a shovel may be needed because the AAA recommends that you turn, if you have gas in your car, and as we all should, we should always travel. The last thing on the list is make sure your tank is full. That's sometimes tough, but at least have half a tank of gas in your car, especially in the winter. You're going to turn your car on for 10 minutes and off for 50. That's what the AAA recommends. That's a long time to be without heat. That's why you have to have blankets. But if you are turning on your car and snow is piling up outside of your vehicle, you need to get out and dig out your tailpipe so the carbon monoxide doesn't flood back into your car. So make sure that your tailpipe is always shoveled out. And you also want to make sure your doors can open. Flashlight with extra batteries in your vehicle, portable charger and charged. And that takes a little bit of pre-planning every time you go out, especially in the winter. So make sure that you have a way to charge your phone and not rely on your car to do that. Booster cables, road flares, light sticks. Now those can help to say, hey, I'm here and I need some help, obviously, but certainly when people are stuck on the side of the roads, plows cannot see you if they're driving by. We want some way to indicate that somebody is in that vehicle and may need help. So light sticks, even from the dollar store, just to alert somebody. Maps of the area. Now, our cell phones, lots of us rely on maps on our cell phones, but the truth is that will drain your battery even if you can hook up to those satellites. So we want to make sure that we have maps of the area so we know how to get out if we need to without relying on our GPS on our phones. Tow rope, sand or kitty litter for traction, spare tire, and I know it's difficult with the price of tires, but we want to make sure that our tires are decent enough for our winter weather. And then, as we said, make sure your gas tank is at least half full, if not full. Okay. Make a plan. Plan in advance what you're going to do in an emergency. Be prepared to assess the situation, use common sense, and do whatever you can to take care of you, your family, friends, and neighbors. Again, those will probably be your immediate first responders while you wait for more first responders to help you, or plow drivers, power company, unfortunately, if you needed it, EMTs, paramedics, police, or fire. So we want to make sure that we all are on the same page, and our families and our friends connect with your neighbors and find out what they may need in an emergency and have a network to take care of each other. So I always suggest people, especially with children in their lives, kids or grandkids, nieces or nephews that spend time, or even children's friends, notice where these things are in your house. So I say make a map of your home and include locations of your first aid kits, fire extinguishers, utility shutoffs, exhaust vents, smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, and exit areas. And maybe our kids don't need to know where the utility shutoffs are, but it's important to empower them to know where the other items are, your smoke detectors, your carbon monoxide detectors, and the exit areas are. Notice where these things are in your house. Make sure that our exit areas are accessible, that you can get your windows open if you need to leave exit areas, that we don't have debris blocking exit areas, or we don't let the snow pile up too much so we can't easily access or leave our house if we need to. Smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors will come up a couple times in this presentation. They are extremely important that we have them. If you own your home, you are required to have a smoke detector and carbon monoxide detector. If you rent your home, your landlord is responsible to provide those for you, but please don't wait. If you have a smoke detector that just needs some batteries, make sure that you get those batteries. Those are two really important and required in New York State safety items, and we want to make sure that our families are protected. Exhaust vents. So outside, if your exhaust vents are low to the ground, they may have snow pile up around them. We want to make sure we know where those exhaust vents are and make sure you dig them out. If we let snow go over our exhaust vents, it may shut off our furnace if we do have heat. And I'm asking everyone to please run fire drills. I speak to children at schools or even in after school groups, and I always ask them where they spend more time, home or school. And sometimes they always tell me, they tell me school. And the truth is they spend more time at home. Sometimes it feels like school. But we run fire drills in schools, and we neglect to run them where our children spend most of their time, which is at home or grandparents' homes or any other place that they spend time. So make sure you run fire drills for your family and plan meeting spots outside of your house. So and make sure that they can, at a neighbor's house, in front of a neighbor's house, away, in case there is a fire, they're out of harm's way. Should you stay or should you go? Depending on the nature of the disaster, you might be required to shelter in place or evacuate. Listen for official instructions and follow them for your own safety. If you're told to shelter in place, do so. So there's different ways to shelter in place, but speaking about a storm, if we know that there's an impending storm, that we are going to have significant snowfall or significant ice or significant wind, it's best to shelter in place, stay wherever you are. And so we're not putting ourselves in jeopardy trying to get to another place. And then if you're told to evacuate, you need to evacuate. If you're told to seek medical treatment, do so immediately as well. So whatever directive the city or the Erie County or the state is giving to people in certain areas, we want to make sure that we're following all of those directives. So staying warm in your home. There are times that we may lose power, and as in our last storm in December, our significant storm in December, power was out for considerable time because with high winds, they may not send crews out right away, or our travel was pretty impossible. So how would we stay warm in a home that does not have power? Well, generators are a great way to stay warm, except they're quite expensive. So to have hardwired into your home, other people buy portable generators that need gas to work. They need to be used. If you have one of those, you need to have them outdoors, at least 20 feet away from windows, doors, attached garages, and porches. They cannot be on a porch. They can't be in a garage attached to your home. They can't be in a little portico or a vestibule. They have to be away from the house, at least 20 feet. When you have generators that are hardwired, they sit next to your house, and that a company has to come and install. But ones that we can just buy from one of our hardware stores has to be used at least 20 feet away from the windows, because we don't want carbon monoxide building up in our houses. So we need to have it removed from the home. Carbon monoxide detectors must be in use in the home. Everyone should have those anyway, but certainly it's critical if you are running a generator even 20 feet from your home. Keep the generator dry and protected from rain or flooding. So maybe a tarp over it, or a lean-to or something to protect it. Use heavy-duty extension cords that can handle appliances. And please follow your manufacturer's directions for the use of the generator so we know we're operating it safely. Other options. So if you don't have a generator, and many of us don't, I don't personally, you can better insulate your attic or crawl spaces. Close all the windows properly, including storm windows. So some of us, the storm hits before we've gotten a chance to make sure our windows are closed tight, but you want to make sure that your windows are closed properly. Some windows may close from the bottom, but may also close from the top. So make sure that we're looking at that. And if you have storm windows, please make sure that those are closed as well. Keep windows and doors airtight, plastic sheeting over your windows. You can use window caulk to fill any cracks, or even stuffed towels and noticeable leaks. So lots of us have windows that have a little bit of a draft, and certainly during very cold spells, we want to make sure that we're sort of blocking off those areas where cold air is coming through. You can put up heavier curtains and close them. Certainly at night, we want to try to block out that cold weather. But if you, during the day, the sun is suddenly shining, we want to make sure that those curtains are open and we're getting the sunlight into our home. You can also choose a small room to stay in, everyone. So a room preferably with lower ceilings that the entire family, and including your pets, can stay in and be able to lay down in. So think about where that would be in your home. And it certainly could be a living room, which usually are a little bit larger than some of our bedrooms. But you may want to use blankets or plastic sheeting to close off the unused rooms that come from your living room, if that's the room you're staying in. If it's a smaller room, like a bedroom, you may want to just bring everyone inside and shut the door. And what you're doing is generating body heat. Use a tent. You can also use a tent to sleep in, or place blankets over a table. So that sounds like a silly suggestion, and certainly a kid in the home would love that, right? If you popped a tent in the middle of your living room, if you had one. But again, if people are in the tent, it's generating some body heat. Lots of us don't have tents. So if you have a kitchen table or a dining room table, you can use it as sort of a fort base. And you're going to put blankets over a table, and then you would all sleep under that table, or an area that's covered, draped in blankets. And that's, again, the same reasoning. You're going to generate body heat if you're all sleeping under one sort of location. Layer up, use gloves, mittens, hats, wool socks, even in your home if it's quite cold out. Use hand and feet warmers. So those are little packets that you open up the plastic, you shake, and you have some warmth for a few hours. If you have a functional fireplace, have wood ready, but make sure that the fireplace is safe and functional. And if you have a a fireplace in your home that may not be functional, you want to make sure that your damper is closed, so we're not letting cold air into the home. Blankets and sleeping bags, and sleep close together. Again, same reasoning with body heat. And then if this is something that my family does not do, but you certainly can, you can do indoor safe propane radiant heaters with safety features, including auto shut off. If tipped, if it detects low oxygen levels and has a grid cage, you want to make sure that you have carbon monoxide detectors near, and make sure children can't touch it or get near it. Now, please don't pull out that old radiant heater that has been in the house for 30 or 40 years. You want to make sure that it's new and safe, and the ones that you can buy now have many safety features. But definitely don't pull out the one that you have from 1970 that's been in the basement for a long time. There's some safety concerns with those. And then never burn candles unattended. And you want to make sure that whatever surface that you're burning them on, if you burn them, it's safe. So candles are not the best option, just because some of us get a little bit, we sort of let our guard down, and we certainly don't want fire risk increasing. So if you are going to use candles, make sure that they're burned in a safe place and never leave them unattended, and always away from anything that is flammable. So staying warm when the power is out. Again, here are some of the things that we talked about. In addition, you want to notice that on the fourth bullet, avoid caffeine and alcohol. Those don't help body temperature at all. Other considerations, if you have, sometimes our pipes freeze, and it is concerning when that happens and very expensive. We're going to allow a small drip from faucets to avoid pipes freezing. So that water, that momentum, that the movement of water in your pipes certainly will help from pipes freezing. So a small drip from faucets. Check smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors are in working order, and always have fresh batteries if you have smoke detectors that require batteries. Always test these as well. Utilize warming shelters or stay at the place you are in, even if it's inconvenient. So if you are stuck somewhere that you don't necessarily want to be in during the height of a storm, or even the onset of a storm, it is often best to stay there instead of try to get out on the roads. And it may be inconvenient, and that's why we want to make sure that we have some supplies in our vehicles, or if you're traveling, on the bus, backpack, so you can get to somewhere safe. If you do have heat, make sure vents are cleared from snow, as we talked about a little bit earlier. Travel during a snow event. Make sure there are no bans or travel advisories first before you leave. If there's a ban or travel advisory, please delay travel, and certainly a ban, you have to delay travel. Make sure you let someone know the route you're traveling. So if you are consistent about the way that you go to work, and you let somebody know and you haven't arrived, someone has a good idea of where to start looking for you. Make sure your car is cleared of all snow and ice before you start. A lot of us are really guilty of this in Western New York. We sort of scrape a tiny little area, and we think, oh, we're good, the snow will melt if we use our defrosters, but that is terribly unsafe for us and anyone else that you're driving near. So you want to make sure your car is cleared of all snow and ice before you start your drive. Take your time. If conditions deteriorate, pull over or find somewhere safe to go. And you can always, if you're taking your time, please put on your flashers and your headlights, make sure that people can see you. And make certain you have your emergency supplies with you, including a fully charged power source for your phones. If you're stranded in a vehicle, You need to contact emergency services and give the location of where you are. And then as a backup, you're going to contact a family member or a friend and give them the location of where you are. So letting more than one person know your location will help you. Redundancy sometimes is great. You know, can be a little bit annoying sometimes, but it's also good. So there's multiple people that have an idea of where you are or anything else that you may need. It is recommended you start your car every 10 minutes, every hour for heat. As we mentioned before, you're going to keep moving too. What we don't want is just to sit. If you keep moving your arms, your legs, your toes, your fingers, you're going to generate your blood flowing and keep yourself a little bit warmer. If you need to drink snow, melt it first. Eating snow can lower body temperature. So hypothermia is always a risk when we're stuck in a vehicle for a long time. So if you can warm up in some form or fashion, some of the water, then do that first. And then clear snow from your exhaust pipe, as we talked about earlier. Be visible to rescuers. Tie bright cloth to antenna or your door. And you can use glow sticks. You want to let somebody know that you are in that vehicle. So whatever you can do to make it known that somebody is in there, please do that. Do not allow yourself to get trapped in a car. You want to clear your doors to the best of your ability. Keep up on it. Snow plows can easily block you with snow because they can't see if anyone is sitting in the car because they sit so much higher. So we want to make sure that our doors open, that we don't get blocked in with snow. And that is sometimes difficult, but we really have to work to make sure that we are not letting snow pile up and get packed in around us. If you are far from inhabited buildings, it is recommended you stay with the car. If weather is clear enough to not become disoriented and you are in a neighborhood, go to a house or building for help. So if you're far away, middle of the country, you don't see any buildings, occupied buildings, it is advisable to stay with your car. If the weather is clear enough, you're in a neighborhood, make sure that you may need to go to a house or building for help. Functional needs. If you take medicine or use medical treatment on a daily basis, be sure you have what you need to make it on your own for at least a week. Keep a copy of your prescriptions as well as your dosage or treatment information. Very simply, all that paperwork that you get with prescriptions that we all typically throw out, you want to make sure that you keep it in your emergency kit. Because if you have to go to a shelter or you're in a shelter and you have your kit with you, somebody may ask you what kind of medication you're on because you're running low or you've run out, and they may be able to help you. But if you don't know the medicine that you're on, lots of us can't pronounce it or can't spell some of the names of the medications we're on, or you don't know the dosage. It's much easier if you keep that paperwork in your emergency kit so we can produce that. Then it has the dosage, the name of your doctor, the prescribing physician, and of course the pharmacy. It helps you provide backup if you need to get that information to get more medicine. If you undergo routine treatments administered by a clinic or hospital, or you receive regular services such as home health care, treatment, or transportation, talk to your service provider about their emergency plan. It's really important to know what plans that they have. If you receive services, if you rely on services, and we have a travel ban or roads are impassable, what do they advise you to do? So have those conversations well in advance of any emergency that we may have. And if you can always identify backup service providers within your area. So you don't have a good answer or they're unsure, you want to make sure you identify backup service providers within your area. So an organization that is well known in our area is Feed More, and they have a great backup plan for times that their volunteers may not be able to get out because of winter weather, and that's blizzard boxes. So they deliver extra shelf-stable food for each client they have well ahead of the storm. And if volunteers can't get out because of the snow or any other related issue, their clients are advised to eat from the blizzard boxes. And that's a very simple plan and a very great plan. So have those conversations beforehand, before a snow event or any other emergency. If you use medical equipment in your home that requires electricity, talk to your healthcare provider about what you can do in the event of a power outage. Also provide your power company with a list of power-dependent life support equipment in use in your home. Find out about equipment that has battery backup. So find out what your options are, again, ahead of a storm that we have, or ahead of a time where the power may not be 100%. And they may be able to help you. And you may think the power company, it's not really their business, but the truth is they will provide welfare checks for people. And it is could be very helpful. Let someone know before an event that you may need help. Don't try to make those connections in the middle of a storm. If you know that you may need assistance if the power goes out, or you may need assistance shoveling your walkway, please talk to somebody that can help you before the storm, so those systems are all worked out. If you have family or friends that may need assistance during a storm, move them to a safe location before the event. So if you know that somebody is homebound and they live alone and they rely on somebody to come every day to help them out, maybe you move that person to your home or somebody else's home well in advance of the storm, or somebody goes and stays with them. But have those systems worked out before an event. Family communications plan. Identify an out-of-town contact for the entire family to call if you're not together when disaster strikes. Make certain everyone in the family knows the phone number for the out-of-town contact. Now, it's always helpful to have somebody in town that you can call, that everybody can call. But in out-of-town contact, if something happens where people have to evacuate out of our area, and there's nobody home to call to in our immediate area, then somebody outside of the area that may not be affected by the disaster. And everyone would call that person, and that person would act as a relay of information. So we leave Buffalo ahead of a storm, and now we're in Erie, Pennsylvania. We can call, Aunt Lucy in South Carolina, and Aunt Lucy can tell us, she can keep the information of where we are staying. And then when another family member calls Aunt Lucy to let them know their location, she acts as a relay. And she can say, well, this family is now in Erie, Pennsylvania. This is how to get a hold of them. Hurricane Katrina gave us a lot of lessons, very difficult lessons. And one was when people were evacuated quickly, there was no way to tell family members where they were going or friends where they were going. And people were separated for many, many months without being able to reconnect, which seems, unbelievable in our time of social media and phones, but it happened. So we want to make sure we plan for those things. During during winter weather, you're going to limit your time outside. What I tell my children is if it's too cold for school to be opened, then it's too cold to play outside, which is not a popular remark in my house. But really, if it's too cold and it shuts things down like schools, then it's really probably too cold to be outside. You're going to wear layers of warm clothing and proper footwear. Each year everyone can think of an example where they pass someone shoveling a driveway and they're in shorts. We're going to make sure, even if we're going out for short times to shovel or anything like that, you're going to wear layers of warm clothing with proper footwear. You're going to reduce the risk of heart attack by avoiding overexertion when shoveling, snow blowing, and walking in the snow. So when you're shoveling, you're going to always lift with your knees, not your back. And if it's wet, heavy snow, you're going to make sure that you're taking like half a shovel at a time, which may take a little bit of time. If you need to take a break, even if the driveway isn't totally done, go inside, take a little bit of a break, and then go out to finish the work. And don't hesitate to go to a warming center or shelter if you can safely get there. So if things don't look great within your home, please don't hesitate for your own safety to go to a warming center or shelter if you can safely get there or ahead of a storm. Dressing for cold weather, just a reminder that, different temperatures require different layers and amount of clothing, and we want to really be prepared for that. Back in the day when we all wore our bread bags on our feet before we put them in our boots, right? That was that was the 1970s, 60s, 70s way. But we want to make sure that we have proper equipment. Know the signs of things that can affect us in cold weather, like frostbite. Frostbite causes loss of feeling and color around the face, fingers, and toes. If you can go inside, soak in warm water, use body heat to a warm affected area, but do not rub. A lot of people rub their hands together if they start to get cold, but if you have frostbite, that could be damaging the skin a little bit more. So we want to gently heat them up. So if you can soak in warm water, you can do that, or you can use body heat, put them, under your arms, or you can sit on them to warm them up. Hypothermia is an unusually low body temperature, which can be detected by shivering, exhaustion or drowsiness, confusion, fumbling, memory loss, and slurred speech. A temperature below 95 is an emergency, and you may need medical attention. If you are suffering from those signs, if you can go inside, you're going to go inside, and then you're going to warm the center of the body first, your chest, your neck, your head, and your groin. You're going to keep dry, and you're going to wrap in blankets, gradually increasing that body temperature to a safe level. Remember to review your plan. At least every 6 months, you're going to update your emergency information, review, and practice. So make sure that you have enough food in your emergency kit. Review your information with your family and your friends. Practice running your fire drills. Have those conversations. In addition to those 6 months, we usually tell people when you fall back with the clocks or spring ahead is a good time to do those things. But really, there are some things we should be checking monthly, and those are your batteries and your carbon monoxide, or your working condition of your carbon monoxide detectors and your smoke detectors. And you're going to make sure that you're going to keep on this. When we come up with a plan, and a lot of workplaces have workplace manuals, right? We read it once, we may read it once, and then we put it on the shelf and we never revisit. These are things that we need to revisit and practice and make sure that we're up on the latest information. Be informed. Some of the things you can do to prepare for the unexpected, such as assembling a supply kit and developing a family communications plan, will help you in all disasters, but all disasters are different. So learn about the different types that could affect you and your family and prepare. So in Buffalo, we know that snow is our main emergency or disaster that we may deal with, but there are other things that can happen, and we want to make sure that we're prepared for everything, natural or man-made. And then if you do have the opportunity to travel, you want to make sure understand what that area also deals with, so you can prepare and have a plan in mind. Lots of people head down to Mexico or something in September, or even North or South Carolina, like August, September time. And that's hurricane season. So even if you're going for a little vacation, you want to make sure that you have what you need, phone numbers, an idea of how to shelter in place for those different things. If you're staying at a hotel, you may want to contact them to find out what their plans are. And ready.gov for more information. Also, another website, weather.gov, is a great resource, and that's the National Weather Service. Get involved. A community working together makes sense. Talk to your neighbors and find out who has specialized equipment and skills. Identify individuals that can check on neighbors and make backup plans for children whose parents aren't home. So if you're coming home from work and your child beats you, where's the safe place for them to go to wait for you, if they're still young. Find out and have those conversations. My children are now, one is almost a teen and the other one is a teenager, and we have had those conversations for many years about the neighbors that are safe for them to go to if for some reason they got home before we did. They're a little bit older now. And then we had the conversation with the neighbors as well. Is this okay if the kids have to come here? And we have more than one neighbor identified. So we always have extra plans. We have a cell phone in the house, my cell phone. That doesn't mean that my kids can always find it. So I do have a landline just for emergencies. In fact, not many people know that we have a landline, but it really is for emergencies, just in case we're all home, my children can't find my phone or can't unlock my phone, although they have been taught how to unlock my phone. We make sure that there's a backup way to get a hold of people. This is my information, Dana Estrada. My phone number is 716-851-4299, and I'm happy to answer any questions or come to any location for presentations. I want to thank the City Division of Citizen Services for giving me the opportunity to speak to you today, and stay safe this winter. Thank you.